Admiral Tejo stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His sleek armor caught the light from the tactical displays surrounding him. The blue glow reflected off his stern face as he watched another planetary defense system crumble under his fleet's attack. "The Centauri colonies have fallen, Supreme Admiral," said Commander Jinwoo, his second in command. Their ships broke apart after just 3 volleys. He bowed slightly, a sign of respect in Drosian military culture. Their defensive capabilities were disappointing. Tahoe's mouth curved into a small smile. As expected, the Centauri were always more traitors than warriors. He stepped closer to the main display, where the image of a blue-green planet appeared. "Add their resources to our manifest and prepare for transition to the Sol system." "The humans, sir." Jinwoo looked surprised. "Our scouts report they have only basic space travel. They've barely reached their own moon. Intelligence suggests they possess unusual adaptability," Tahoe said. "Better to crush them now, before they become a problem." He zoomed the display to show Earth's solar system. Besides, their world is rich in water and rare minerals. The Imperium has need of both. Jinwoo nodded and turned to relay the orders. The massive Drosian fleet, 20 ships strong, began to shift position. Their crystalline hulls glimmered in the light of the conquered Centauri sun. Meanwhile, across the stars, humanity had not been idle. Deep in a classified orbital shipyard, hidden behind Earth's moon, the UTS Defiance floated in its construction dock. At 1.8 kilometers long, the massive battleship represented everything humans had learned about advanced technology in the decades since they first detected the Drosian advance. Engineer Sunwoo floated through the ship's main corridor, making final checks on the power systems. The artificial gravity was off during these last tests, allowing the engineers to access hard-to-reach places. "How's the core looking?" asked Director Haijin over the comm system. She was overseeing the final preparations from the control center. "Power output is stable at 87% capacity," Sunwoo replied, checking his tablet. "The new gravimetric enhancements are working better than expected." "Good," Haijin said, "because we just got word that the Drosian fleet has taken the Centauri system. They're heading our way next." Sunwoo's stomach tightened. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks, maybe less," Haijin replied. "The Defiance needs to be ready in 10 days. But the weapons systems still need calibration," Sunwoo protested. "And we haven't tested the shield grid under full power." "Then you'd better work faster," Haijin said grimly, "because this ship is Earth's last hope." In a secure underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, the leaders of Earth's Unified Defense Council gathered around a table. Admiral Kyung, head of the Terran Defense Force, stood at the front of the room. "The Drosians have conquered every system in their path for 3 centuries, he said, pointing to a star map showing the Imperium's expansion. "We've been preparing for this day since we first detected their communications 15 years ago." General Minna, commander of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. "How can one ship make a difference against their fleet?" "The Defiance isn't just a ship," Admiral Kyung replied. "It's a completely new approach to space warfare. The Drosians rely on energy weapons and quantum technology. We've designed our defenses specifically to counter those advantages." He touched a control, and a hologram of the Defiance appeared above the table. "They expect us to be primitive, barely able to reach our own moon. They don't know we've been salvaging their technology from the worlds they've destroyed. They don't know what humans can do when our survival is at stake." Captain Ju, newly appointed commander of the Defiance, studied the ship's schematics with intense focus. She had been training for this mission her entire career. "The rest of our fleet won't be ready for at least a month," Admiral Kyung continued. "The Defiance will have to delay the Drosian advance long enough for us to prepare our other ships." In the vastness of the Orion Arm, the Drosian Imperium had spread unchecked for centuries. Their crystalline warships moved through space like predators, seeking new worlds to conquer. For over 300 years, no species had been able to stop their advance. 1 ship against 20. General Minha shook her head. Those are impossible odds. Captain Juwu looked up from the schematics. The Drosians have never faced humans before, she said. They have no idea what we're capable of. Sometimes surprise is the most powerful weapon of all. As the Council continued their planning, high above Earth, the Defiance's massive engines glowed to life for the first time. The greatest gamble in human history was about to begin. Captain Juwu stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's first true battleship. Through the main viewport, she could see Earth below, a blue marble against the blackness of space. For a moment, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. 7 billion lives depended on the success of this mission. Final systems check complete, Captain. Lieutenant Commander Doyan announced from the operations station. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing control panel. Kinetic rail batteries online. Defense grid operational. Graviton drive at 93% efficiency. Engineers say that's the best we'll get for now, added Lieutenant Minji, the ship's chief engineer. She had dark circles under her eyes from the weeks of rushed preparations. Juwu nodded, studying the tactical display. It showed the Drosian fleet's approach through the outer solar system. They had passed Neptune yesterday, and were now moving past Uranus. Their speed was impressive even by human military standards. They don't know we've been watching them for years, Juwu said quietly. They don't know we've studied their tactics, and they certainly don't know what humanity is capable of when our backs are against the wall. The bridge crew worked with focused intensity. Most were young, the best graduates from Earth's space academies. They had trained together for this mission, using simulations based on observed Drosian attack patterns. Communication from command, Captain, said Communications Officer Chino. His voice was steady despite the tension in the air. Admiral Kyung's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. Captain Juwu, status report. Defiance is ready for departure, Admiral, Juwu replied. All systems are operational. Crew is prepared. Admiral Kyung nodded. The Drosians have increased speed. New projections put them at Jupiter in 18 hours. He paused. Captain, you should know that the rest of the fleet is still 3 weeks from deployment readiness. Whatever happens, you must delay the Drosian advance. Understood, Admiral. Defiance will hold the line. After the communication ended, Juwu turned to address her crew. This is what we've prepared for. The Drosians have never faced defeat. Today, that changes. She pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for departure in 5 minutes. We are moving to intercept the Drosian fleet near Jupiter's orbit. This is not a suicide mission. We have technological advantages they don't expect. Fight smart, stay focused, and remember what we're protecting. As the Defiance's engines powered up, Juwu received a private message in her quarters. It was from her father, a retired military officer who had helped design some of the ship's defensive systems. Daughter, the message read, I wish we had more time to perfect these systems. They are untested in real combat. Be careful. Remember what I taught you about facing a superior enemy. Make them fight on your terms, not theirs. Return home safely. Juwu tucked the message away and returned to the bridge. The massive ship hummed with power as it broke orbit. Set course for Jupiter intercept, she ordered. Power to main drives. The Defiance moved away from Earth, accelerating to speeds that would have been impossible just 10 years ago. The gravimetric drive was humanity's greatest achievement, reverse-engineered from salvaged Drosian technology. In the ship's main hangar bay, 20 fighter pilots prepared their small, agile craft. These ships weren't meant to engage the Drosians directly. They were too small to pose a threat to the crystalline warships. Instead, they would serve as electronic warfare platforms, confusing Drosian sensors and communications. Flight Commander Haniel briefed his pilots. Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ships. Our job is to create chaos. Keep moving, stay unpredictable, and draw their fire away from the Defiance. As the massive battleship approached the orbit of Mars, Juwu called her senior officers to the tactical room. A holographic display showed the Drosian fleet formation. They always attack in this pattern, Juwu explained, pointing to the smaller ships that flank the main command vessel. They've used the same tactics for centuries because no one has ever beaten them. Their arrogance is our advantage. Lieutenant Sungo, weapons officer, studied the formation. Their point defense systems are designed to stop energy weapons. Our kinetic railguns should punch right through their shields. For a time, Juwu agreed, but they'll adapt quickly. We need to cause maximum damage in the first exchange. As the officers discussed strategy, the ship's AI announced, Drosian fleet detected near Jupiter, 20 vessels in standard attack formation. Juwu took a deep breath. Return to stations. Battle stations in 5 minutes. As the officers dispersed, Dr. Yuna, the ship's medical chief, caught Juwu's arm. Whatever happens out there, we're ready in medical. Just try not to give us too much work. Juwu managed a small smile. I'll do my best. She returned to the bridge and took her command chair. Earth was now just a bright point of light behind them. Ahead loomed Jupiter, a massive gas giant. And beyond it, just visible on long-range sensors, waited the Drosian fleet. Humanity's first interstellar battle was about to begin. The Drosian command ship, Eternal Dominion, emerged from its quantum fold near Jupiter, followed by 12 destroyer-class vessels. The massive crystalline flagship gleamed in the distant sunlight, its segmented hull reflecting stars like a perfectly cut diamond. Admiral Tejo stood on the command deck, watching as his fleet formed a precise attack pattern around him. Scans of the system show minimal defenses, Supreme Admiral, reported Commander Jinwu. The humans have a small outpost on Mars and some basic satellites around their home planet. No military presence of note. Tahoe nodded, satisfied. This conquest would be like countless others before it. Begin standard approach. We'll take their outer settlements first, then move to the main planet. Yes, Supreme Admiral. The Drosian fleet moved with practiced precision, their formation spreading out to surround Jupiter's orbit. They had encountered no resistance thus far, as expected from a pre-interstellar civilization. Suddenly, Tahoe's sensor officer straightened in his chair. Supreme Admiral, anomalous energy signature detected approaching from Earth orbit. The officer's voice held a note of confusion. Configuration unknown, but the power output exceeds our scout projections by orders of magnitude. Impossible, Tahoe hissed. Show me. The main display shifted to show a single vessel approaching at high speed. It was large by human standards, but modest compared to the Drosian flagship. Its design was brutally functional, a long, angular hull with visible weapon emplacements along its sides. None of the ornate crystalline architecture that marked Drosian superiority. Magnify, Tahoe ordered. The image zoomed in, revealing the name painted on the hull. UTS-DEFIANC. The human vessel is hailing us, Supreme Admiral, said the communications officer. Tahoe considered ignoring the transmission, but curiosity won out. Put it through. Captain Juwu's image appeared on the Drosian command screen. Her uniform was simple, but her posture projected confidence that surprised Tahoe. Drosian vessels, this is Captain Juwu of the United Terran ship Defiance. You have entered sovereign Terran space. Your actions in the Orion Arm constitute war crimes against sentient species. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. A murmur ran through the Drosian command crew. No species had ever addressed them with such boldness before. Tahoe stepped forward. I am Supreme Admiral Tahoe of the Drosian Imperium. Your planet and resources now belong to us. Surrender and your people may live as servants. On the Defiance's bridge, Juwu maintained a calm expression despite the tension running through her body. The Drosian commander looked exactly as intelligence had described. Tall, imposing, with the characteristic silver skin of his species. We are aware of your history, Admiral Tahoe, she replied. The Centauri weren't the first civilization you've destroyed, and you plan for Earth to not be the last. But your expansion ends here. Tahoe's expression shifted to one of surprise. You know of the Centauri. Impossible. Your species has no interstellar capability. We know more than you think, Ju answered. This is your final warning. Leave our system, or we will defend ourselves. For the first time in his long career, Tahoe felt uncertainty. The human ship showed technological signatures that should be impossible for their development stage. Nevertheless, the outcome was inevitable. One ship, no matter how advanced, could not stand against his fleet. Your bravery is admirable, human, Tahoe said, but misplaced. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them, then proceed to Earth. On the Defiance, the screen went dark. They've cut transmission, reported Communications Officer Chunno. Drosian vessels are charging weapons. Ju took a deep breath. This is it. Sound battle stations. Launch fighter screen. All power to defensive systems. Throughout the ship, red alert klaxons sounded. Crew members rushed to their combat positions. In the launch bay, Flight Commander Hanyul led his pilots to their fighters. Drosian destroyers are moving to encircle us. Lieutenant Commander Do-Yun reported from Tactical. Classic containment formation. Just as expected, Ju said. They're sticking to the playbook. Let's show them why that's a mistake. She opened a channel to engineering. Lieutenant Minji, status of the kinetic batteries. Fully charged, Captain, came the reply. Railguns ready to fire on your command. Ju studied the tactical display. The Drosian ships were moving into position with mechanical precision, their crystalline hulls shimmering as they charged their main weapons. They think we're primitive, Ju said quietly. They think we're unprepared. She settled into her command chair. Let them think that right until the end. Captain, Do-Yun called out. Energy buildup in the lead destroyers. They're preparing to fire. Hold position. Ju ordered. Wait for my command. Across the void of space, the first brilliant beams of Drosian quantum disruption weapons lanced toward the Defiance, the opening shots of humanity's first interstellar war. The Drosian destroyers moved to encircle the Defiance, their crystalline hulls shimmering as they charged their main cannons. The first volley of quantum disruption beams lanced toward the Terran vessel, weapons that had shattered the defenses of dozens of civilizations. Aboard the Defiance, Lieutenant Minji called out, incoming fire, multiple vectors. Defensive grid to active interception. Ju ordered calmly. Prepare main batteries. Target the lead destroyer. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, despite this being their first real combat. They had trained for this moment in thousands of simulations. What happened next shocked the Drosian command crew. The human vessel's hull rippled with energy as an electromagnetic field deflected the quantum beams. The attacks that should have torn through metal simply scattered against the shield. Impossible. Commander Jinwoo exclaimed on the Drosian flagship. Their defenses are absorbing our weapons. Admiral Tahoe leaned forward in his command chair. Increase power to the main cannons. No primitive shield can withstand a concentrated Drosian attack. On the Defiance, Ju saw her opening. Now, Lieutenant Sungo. Fire main batteries. The human ship rotated with surprising agility for its size. Then, instead of energy beams, massive tungsten rods shot from the ship's main guns. Accelerated to near light speed by electromagnetic rails, the simple metal projectiles crossed space in milliseconds. They struck the lead Drosian destroyer with devastating force. The crystalline hull, designed to reflect and absorb energy weapons, shattered under the kinetic impact. The destroyer broke apart in a shower of glittering fragments. On the Drosian command ship, alarms blared. The tactical display showed the destruction of one of their vessels. What happened? Tahoe demanded. What kind of weapon did they use? His weapons officer looked up in disbelief. Primitive kinetics, Supreme Admiral. They fired solid metal at relativistic speeds. Solid projectiles. Tahoe couldn't hide his shock. We've optimized our defenses against energy weapons for centuries. that weaponized basic physics. On the Defiance, Zhu didn't allow her crew time to celebrate. Evasive pattern Delta. Prepare for counterattack. The human ship banked sharply, its engines flaring as it changed course. The remaining Drosian destroyers adjusted their formation, focusing their fire on the agile Earth vessel. They're adapting their attack pattern, reported Lieutenant Commander Doyan, attempting to predict our movement. Launch fighter screen, Zhu ordered. Confuse their targeting systems. From the Defiance's launch bays, 20 small fighters shot into space. They were tiny compared to the massive capital ships, but they moved with incredible speed, weaving between the Drosian vessels. Flight Commander Haniel led the fighter squadron through the enemy formation. Electronic countermeasures active, he reported, jamming their communications. The small human fighters couldn't damage the Drosian ships, but they projected powerful electronic signals that confused the alien targeting systems. The crystalline ships began firing at the fighters, their powerful weapons wasting energy on the small, agile craft. Zhu saw her opportunity. Main batteries. Target second and third destroyers. Fire when ready. 2 more salvos of kinetic projectiles launched from the Defiance. One struck its target perfectly, causing another Drosian ship to break apart. The second only damaged its target, tearing away a portion of the crystalline hull. On the Drosian command ship, Admiral Tejo was no longer dismissive. All ships, adapt shields to disperse kinetic impacts, he ordered. Focus fire on the human vessel. Ignore the small craft. The remaining Drosian destroyers adjusted their tactics, their shields shifting to a new configuration designed to absorb physical impacts. Captain, Doya mourned, they're adapting their shields. Zhu nodded. As expected, switched to fragmentation rounds. The next volley from the Defiance contained a new type of projectile. When they neared their targets, the rounds split into thousands of smaller fragments, overwhelming the Drosian shields through sheer numbers. Another destroyer suffered critical damage, its main power core destabilizing in a brilliant flash of blue light. 3 down, Zhu announced. 9 to go. But the Drosians were quick learners. Their next attack came from multiple angles simultaneously, coordinated with perfect precision. Several beams struck the Defiance's shields directly. The human ship shuddered under the impact. On the bridge, systems sparked and alarms sounded. Shield grid at 78% capacity, reported Engineering Officer Sunwoo. Direct hit to sections 12 through 15. Zhu gripped her command chair as the ship stabilized. Rotate shield frequency. Don't let them find a pattern. The battle continued to escalate, with the Defiance weaving through space, engaging multiple Drosian ships at once. The human vessel was taking damage, but it was giving worse than it got. Admiral Tejo watched with growing concern as a 4th destroyer succumbed to the humans' strange weapons. No species had ever destroyed 4 Drosian warships in a single engagement. All ships, he commanded, close-range engagement. Their kinetic weapons must have limited ammunition. Overwhelm them. The Drosian fleet began to close in on the Defiance, tightening their formation into an inescapable net of crystalline warships. 3 hours into the battle, the void between Jupiter and Mars was littered with crystalline debris from 7 Drosian destroyers. The wreckage caught the light from the distant sun, sparkling like broken glass against the black of space. The Defiance had not emerged unscathed. Its port side was heavily damaged, and the defensive grid operated at reduced capacity. On the bridge, Captain Zhu wiped blood from a gash on her forehead. A console had exploded during the last attack, injuring 2 crew members and sending shrapnel flying across the command deck. Despite the chaos, her voice remained steady. Status report. Main batteries at 22% capacity. Captain, Commander Doyan answered. His uniform was torn and his face smudged with soot, but his eyes remained clear and focused. Hull integrity at 61%. Drive functioning but cooling systems compromised. We can't sustain another major engagement. Zhu nodded, studying the tactical display. 7 enemy ships destroyed, but 5 destroyers and the Drosian command ship remained. The odds were still against them. "Fighter squadron status?" she asked. 8 fighters still operational, Communications Officer Chuno reported. Commander Handul's craft was damaged, but he's still leading the attack runs. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuno worked frantically to treat the wounded. 23 crew members had been injured so far, 6 critically. Her medical team moved with practiced efficiency, stabilizing the most serious cases first. "We need more plasma for Ensign Tewu," she called out. "And get that burn unit ready for the engineers from Deck 4. Meanwhile, in engineering, Lieutenant Minji struggled to keep the ship's power core stable. The Drosian attacks had damaged several cooling systems, causing the core temperature to rise dangerously. "Reroute coolant from the secondary systems," she ordered her team. "We need to keep the main shields powered." Engineer Sun Wu looked up from his console. "If we do that, we'll lose life support on decks 8 through 10. Evacuate those decks," Minji decided. "We can survive without some life support. We can't survive without shields." Back on the bridge, Lieutenant Minji's voice came through the comm system. "Captain, power core is stabilizing, but we've had to sacrifice some systems. Weapons capacity won't increase above 25%. Jiwoo acknowledged the report, her mind racing through options. The Defiance had fought valiantly, destroying more Drosian ships than any other civilization in history. But they were running out of resources. The Drosian command ship is moving into position. Lieutenant Sungo reported from the weapons station. Energy signatures suggest they're charging their primary weapon, something far beyond what the destroyers carried. Jiwoo studied the tactical display. The massive Eternal Dominion was positioning for what would likely be a killing blow. The alien flagship had stayed back during most of the battle, allowing its destroyers to wear down the human vessel. "All power to forward shields," she ordered. "Divert life support if necessary. Everyone into emergency suits." The crew moved quickly to don the thin emergency suits that would protect them if the ship lost atmosphere. The suits wouldn't provide long-term life support, but they might make the difference between life and death in the next few minutes. On the Drosian command ship, Admiral Teo watched the damaged human vessel with a mixture of frustration and reluctant respect. "They fought well," he admitted to Commander Jinwoo. "No species has ever destroyed 7 of our ships in a single engagement." "Their vessel is crippled, Supreme Admiral," Jinwoo reported. "Our main cannon will finish them." "Prepare to fire," Taiho ordered. "Then we proceed to Earth." The Eternal Dominion's main weapon began to glow with building energy, a brilliant point of light, at the center of the crystalline ship. "Captain," Communications Officer Chunho suddenly called out, his voice rising with excitement. "We're receiving multiple signatures from lunar orbit. It's the rest of the fleet." Jiwoo spun toward the tactical display. The screen updated to show 5 more Terran battleships emerging from concealment behind Earth's moon, their construction and deployment accelerated by the desperate need. Admiral Kyung's voice came through the comm system. "Sorry for the delay, Captain Jiwoo. Seems you didn't need much help after all. The Defiance has lived up to its name." Relief washed over Jiwoo's face. "Your timing is perfect, Admiral. We've worn them down, but we're running on fumes." The tactical display showed the new Terran ships moving rapidly toward the battle. They were similar to the Defiance in design, but with slight variations, each one specialized for different combat roles. "All ships, form up on the Defiance," Admiral Kyum ordered. "Protective formation. Captain Jiwoo has done the hard work. Let's finish this." As the Terran fleet moved into formation, Admiral Teo faced the first defeat in Trojan history. The humans had not only developed technology to counter their weapons, but had strategically concealed their true capabilities. "Supreme Admiral," Jinwoo urged, "we must retreat and report this development to the High Command." Taiho stared at the advancing Terran ships with disbelief. "No species has ever halted our advance. No civilization has broken our stride." "Until now," Jinwoo said quietly. After a moment of silence, Taiho gave the order. "All ships, prepare for quantum fold. We returned to Drosian space. The Eternal Dominion turned and initiated its quantum drive, retreating toward the outer solar system. The remaining destroyers followed, abandoning the battle. For the first time in centuries, the Imperium would need to reassess its strategies. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jiwu watched the Drosian flagship disappear. "They'll be back," she said, "with more ships and new tactics." "And we'll be ready," Admiral Kyung responded. "The Defiance has bought us time and shown us that they can be defeated. Humanity now stands as the defender of the Orion Arm." The battered Terran Battleship limped back toward Earth, surrounded by its sister ships. They had written the first chapter in humanity's unexpected rise as a galactic power.